Thank you for clicking on the video. I'm Cal Corp. Won't you like and subscribe and enjoy the video? All right, well, welcome back to How Love Can Last Forever After All. And like we told you last week, we're going to talk about this thing called chemistry and why it has never been enough. Let's begin with something most people don't question enough. Chemistry feels like evidence. It feels like proof. Proof that this is right. Proof that this is different. Proof that this should last. But chemistry has never been designed to predict longevity. It was designed to initiate attachment. And if we misunderstand its purpose, we will build entire relationships on temporary neurological events. We are living in a stimulation economy. Every app is built around engagement. Every platform is built around novelty. Every algorithm is designed to renew emotional spikes. And dating has followed the same pattern. Swipe, match, conversation, excitement, repeat. The more novelty we consume, the more our brains begin to crave intensity over stability. That's not moral decline. That's conditioning. And when intensity becomes the metric for compatibility, steadiness begins to feel boring. But boredom and safety are not the same thing. And intensity and health, they're not the same thing either. Let's talk biologically for a moment. Early romantic attachment activates dopamine, the neurologicals associated with reward anticipation. Dopamine increases focus, energy, and pursuit behavior. But dopamine does not create secure attachment. Long-term bonding involves oxytocin, the hormone associated with trust, calm, and safety. In other words, the part of your brain that feels amazing is not the same part that sustains partnership over decades. Research on passionate love versus compassionate love shows that intensity naturally stabilizes over time. That stabilization is not decay, it's transition. When people panic at the transition over excitement to steadiness, they often assume something is wrong. But what's happening neurologically is maturation. And if you leave every time intensity dips, you will repeat, beginning indefinitely. There is a belief quickly shaping modern relationships. If it's right, it won't feel complicated. But complications is not dysfunction. Two anonymous adults merging lives creates friction. Growth always does. Conflict is not a sign of incompatibility. Avoidance is. Research from Gottman's longitudinal study consistently shows that conflict frequently does not predict divorce. Contempt and inability to repair do. That means chemistry isn't the differentiator. Skill is. If you are on dating apps, here is something important to consider. You are interacting inside an environment engineered for acceleration. Acceleration, it feels romantic, but acceleration bypasses evaluation. Strong chemistry early does not tell you how someone handles frustration, how they respond to boundaries, whether they regulate emotions under stress, whether they can tolerate pacing. The healthiest connections often feel steady before they feel intense. But steadiness rarely gets marketed. Intensity does. If you want longevity, you must learn to value steadiness. Now let's talk about those who are married. If you've been married for years and you've noticed that the emotional spikes of early love have changed, that's not a sign that love has disappeared. It is a sign that attachment has formed. Long-term relationships thrive not because the spark stays constant, but because partners develop. They develop emotional regulation. They develop repair habits, shared meaning, generosity under stress. The couples who struggle most are often the ones who interpret stability as stagnation. But stability is not stagnation, it's foundation. I can remember first house we built. The thing that took the longest was laying the foundation. And it felt like the project was stagnant. But really, I talked to the contractor and they say, yeah, no, your foundation has to settle. So will you wait long enough for your foundation to settle? From a developmental perspective, that makes sense. Impulse-driven decision-making is limp. Long-term relational planning is performative. The maturation of love mirrors the maturation of the brain. When attraction is not integrated with executive function, instability increases. When it is integrated, attraction deepens, and that integration requires something most of us were never formally taught. So if chemistry isn't enough, what bridges the gap between attraction and longevity? It is the ability to regulate emotion, to tolerate discomfort, to pause instead of escalate, to stay present when intensity shifts. And that is what we're going to be talking about next. Because without emotional regulation, chemistry will always outrun maturity. And when chemistry outruns maturity, relationships collapse under pressure. Chemistry begins the relationship, but skill sustains them. If you want something that lasts longer than the spark, you have to build something stronger than the spark. And that strength is developed. It's not discovered. In the next episode, we're going to explore the single most underestimated relational skill, emotional regulation. Because if you cannot regulate, you cannot build. So remember, forever love, it's not a fantasy. It's formed.